Welcome to the ArmaniTalks podcast. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this podcast, I'm helping you level up your 5 soft skills: public speaking, storytelling, social dynamics, emotional intelligence, and creativity. 5 soft skills for you to change your life forever and skyrocket your confidence along the way. In today's episode, we're going to be answering the question, are 9-to-5s outdated? There was this viral clip recently that's been floating around social media where there's this girl. I believe she just got out of college, and she's over here crying about having a 9-to-5. Within this video, she talks about how she has to make roughly an hour to 2-hour commute to work. And by the time that she's back and she's commuting back to her apartment, it's night. And she's pretty much having this mental breakdown because she doesn't see herself having a life other than work. And within the video, different individuals are offering their opinions. They're very different, by the way, the opinions, where one group of people were like, see, this is what happens when women try to do a 9-to-5. Their bodies are not meant for 9-to-5s due to the different variation of hormones. Now, before you say misogyny, it's a lot of women that were commenting that. Now, some of the guys that were commenting were saying, well, me, I work in a factory from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. This little brat has nothing to complain about. And then other people were talking about how this girl, she doesn't really have a problem with the 9-to-5 grind. She really has a problem with her commute. And as I was reading a lot of these comments, I thought the last one, the commute insight, makes the most sense. Because if you're commuting roughly 1 hour to 2 hours, and you have to factor in traffic as well, to your job and back, then you don't really have a life outside of work. So fix the commute. That's for this particular girl. However, the question of are 9-to-5s outdated still, I would say it's a reasonable question. And I believe for the most part, yes. After the industrial age and in the beginning of the information age, 9-to-5s have been out of date. Let's be real about it. How often are people really working within the 9-to-5 hours? Very few. Now, granted, there are certain exceptions. I would say the exceptions are high manual jobs and jobs within the medicine field. But for the most part, if you're a button clicker, you don't need to be clicking buttons for 9 to 5. For the most part, you could work roughly 3 to 4 hours in most jobs out there, and you could be out of there. But here's the thing. If that's the case, how come more people are not doing the 3-hour per day work week? The reason why is because it's too customized. If someone is paying you, let's say for 3 hours of work, now it becomes a performance-based job. And performance-based jobs, unfortunately, it doesn't always scale well. There's this saying that standardization beats customization in the technical world, where when you're trying to scale, you want a standard way of doing things. And one of the easiest ways to make things standard is to pay people a salary. And since they are being paid a salary, it's required of them to be in the organization for 9 to 5. You could always find loopholes by, working from home, but this is where the businesses feel like they're losing. If they're renting out a warehouse, aka your office area, they want a return on their investment. So if they're saying, oh, well, we have this warehouse, but no one ever shows up because of work from home, they can't necessarily justify paying for that warehouse. So that's why they're making you come back to the office. I would say 9-to-5s are outdated, but I don't see 9-to-5s going anywhere because when you're trying to measure too much based on performance, it can work in a small scale. But when you're working in a company, it becomes very difficult to manage something like that. And this is when your subjective interpretations are too involved. Like, okay, this person, I guess, deserves more money than this person. I guess. And it's not going to be a great way for the company to proceed. I do believe that this girl, the one that was whining in the viral video, she does raise some good points. But I do believe that her smart line of action is to move closer to her work or start a business rather than whine about the entire 9 to 5 framework. And by the way, if she wants to start a business, that brings on a bigger headache. Business owners, especially in the beginning stages, don't work 9 to 5. They work 9 to 9. So if you want to be a boss, you got to put in the hours like a boss. For this girl, I mean, I completely understand where she's coming from, but her line of action is to move closer to the job because unfortunately, 9 to 5s are not going anywhere anytime soon. Thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks podcast, and I'll catch you on the next episode.